to update me with that also.
Okay.
Right now, like what is going on in your school, which topic is going to be taught next in your school, update me with those things. Okay, now.
Okay.
Okay, so we have been talking about living things and their habitats so far. This is what we were discussing in the previous class. So before in today's class, now first of all, we will again be revising different things. And one more thing, just give me 1 minute. So we'll be revising few important things, and once we are done revising these things, we will be then doing some questions also. Also, to tell me, have you received the assignment?
Which assignment?
The assignment which I provided. Have you received any assignment so far?
No.
Not yet. Okay. Anyways, so in this chapter, first of all, we need to know about the history of classification also. Right now, why do we need to classify? For example, if you were to go to shopping in a supermarket, how do we know where to find what we are looking for? Yes, Moz. Each type
Uh,
each type of food is in its own place, right now. That's why it is easy for us to find those particular item by looking at the signs which are written over them, right now. So that's why you need to see that on our Earth we have got millions of types of species are living in our Earth. So scientists estimate that planet Earth is home to 8.7 million of species, right now. So
yeah.
there are millions of types of living things in the world. So it would be very difficult if we try to describe and name each one of them individually, right now. So to
Yes.
help us understand living things, scientists organize them into groups, right? So according to how they will be organizing them, they will be organizing them according to the features that they share with each other. Just like when you go to a shop, just like you go to shopping in a supermarket, so all the biscuits will be placed in one rack. Huh? No
Yeah.
matter what company that biscuit is of, biscuits are of different companies, but all the biscuits you will find them under one section only. Because one thing that is common between all the biscuits is that all of them are biscuits, no matter what company. So same thing is done with the different living organisms also. So hence, since it is impossible for scientists to organize them individually, to study and name each one of them individually, so hence we organize them into groups. So according, how do we do them? According to the features that they share with each other. So classification makes sense of this huge diversity. You look at insects, you look at human beings, you look at plants, you look at microorganisms. All of them are so much different from each other, right?
Yes.
Okay. Talking about this person, Aristotle, you know that if we were to look at the classification of plants, and am I audible properly? Is there some background noise from my side?
No.
Okay, fine. So Aristotle was a thinker. He was a great thinker of his time. He was a historian also, right now. So the classification of plants and animals can be traced back to ancient Greece. Aristotle was a Greek philosopher. Who was he?
A
He
Greek
was a yes.
philosopher.
He was a Greek philosopher. You can call him a historian also. So he was so many things right now.
Yeah.
So he was if you were to look at the classification of plants and animals, it can be traced back to the ancient Greece. So Aristotle, who was a philosopher, he was a historian, he was a scientist, as well. So he was the person who was living almost 2500 years ago in Greece, and he was the first person to try and classify living things into groups. Okay, now.
Mm.
So Aristotle here, he said that in all things of nature there is something of the marvelous. In all the things of nature, we say that something is so much marvelous about them. Okay. So while trying to classify living things into groups, Aristotle decided that there was a hierarchy of living things. There was a hierarchy. Do you understand what does hierarchy mean?
No.
No. Hierarchy basically means different levels of something. Huh? For example, if you were to look at the hierarchy of your studies, first you went to year one, you went to go further on to study in year two, then year three. Right now, you are in year
Yeah.
six. Right now, so there's a hierarchy here also now.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a different ranks that you can see here. So Aristotle decided that there was a hierarchy of living things, which he called as the ladder of life. Okay, now ladder of life, or we can call it ladder of nature also. Right. So in this, now there were two major groups, namely the plants and animals. Initially, he made two major groups, namely the plants and animals.
Yes.
Okay, now.
Hmm.
So, and he called them as kingdoms. Hmm? Just like a king has its kingdom, not very similar to that manner. Just understand that he made two major kingdoms. One was plant and animals. Now, right now we study about 5 or 6 kingdoms nowadays. Right, Moz?
Yes.
Okay, some book mentions that there are 5 kingdoms, while some book mention that there are 6 kingdoms. Anyways, that's a different thing. But we are talking about Aristotle, who was living 2500 years ago. At that time, they were not aware of the microorganisms. They had no idea that something called as microorganisms are also living with us. Okay, no.
Hmm.
So he only knew about plants and animals, so made 2 kingdoms. We even today also we use these broad division of living things. Even today we study about the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. Okay, no. So ladder of life, here you can see what is human being. Human beings, the animal that can think and that can be creative. Getting it? Animals, they can move around to search for food and escape predators, sensitive to their surrounding. So here we are having a look at what were the basis on which he ranked living things. Huh? So he was ranking, if you were to look at the definition of everything here, for example, plants, he said that plants are usually green and stationary and can grow and reproduce. What does stationary mean?
Uh, it
Something
can
that is,
grow and reproduce.
no, the word is stationary. This word over here. Stationary, something is that is at rest. Something that cannot move from one place to another. Okay, now?
Hmm.
Something that cannot move from one place to another on its own. So, talking about plants, they are usually green in color. They are stationary, that they are at a position of rest. They can grow and they can reproduce. While he said that non-living things are immovable, for example, rocks. So, this ladder of nature or life, in this he ranked living things on their ability to move and and their ability to sense their surrounding.
Hmm.
Getting it, was or not?
Getting it.
Right now. So
Yeah.
that was his thing. Right now. Also, you see that nowadays we classify animals also in different groups now. Huh? Like animals, you have got vertebrates are there, invertebrates are there, and so many other groupings are also there, which we are going to study. So this was all about Aristotle. So Aristotle was a Greek philosopher and a great thinker of his time, who lived around the period 384 before Common Era. Do you understand these timelines? Right now we are living in AD.
Yes.
Huh? What is BC, or sometimes called as BCE? What is it?
It's before Common Era.
Before Common Era, right? Or we can also say that before the birth of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Okay, no? Right. Now, there was another great thinker, there was another great scientist. His name was Carl Linnaeus. Okay, now in short, we call it as Carl Linnaeus or Carolus Linnaeus. So he was a Swedish scientist. He was a Swedish scientist who developed a system of organizing living things. right now. So in his system of organizing living things, he formed his system of classification of living things formed the basis of naming things. What I mean to say here, see, Linnaeus made it his life's work to develop a way to classify and name all life on earth. So his main work was related with naming system. Huh? So he came up with how a particular organism should be named. Like your name is Moss, my name is something. Your friends' names, you will be having friends of different names, but all the humans are belonging to the same species. So they have got a biological name also. See, Moss, for example, in scientific terms, we humans are called as Homo sapiens. Have you heard of this word before?
No.
No. Like your name is Moz, my name is like Sohail, or you can have some friend whose name, let's say, might be Ahmed. So we humans have different names here. But when we study about humans from a scientific perspective, so we see that we humans are a particular kind of a species, and our scientific name is Homo sapiens. Getting it,
Mm.
Moz?
Mm.
So Linnaeus, as I'm telling about Linnaeus, he was a Swedish scientist. Swedish scientist, and his work was particularly related with the naming system, which we are using today also. Now, Linnaeus system, now, he had 7 levels of classification of living organisms. Linnaeus system has 7 levels, namely kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and then species. We'll be studying about all of them in detail. Don't worry. Okay, now. Now, you see, following on from the ideas which were introduced by Aristotle, Linnaeus divided nature into 3 broad kingdoms. What he did? He divided this kingdom. If you notice, even Aristotle talked about the kingdom. Okay, now?
Yeah.
He was also talking about kingdoms.
Mm.
So, continuing with this, even Linnaeus talked about the kingdom. What more he did? He, following on from the ideas which are introduced by Aristotle, he further went on to divide kingdom into 3 broad categories. Okay, now into 3 other kingdoms. Like he classified kingdoms further as stones, that is basically mineral, and then he had the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. Okay, now.
Mm.
Okay. Nowadays we no more study about the stones or the minerals. Okay, now.
Mm.
If you were to talk about today, it is no longer studied because it is irrelevant. Okay, there's no such kingdom as stone or mineral kingdom. Okay, because these are the non-living things, hence we don't study about them, right? So talking about plants also grow, they are also living organisms. Animals, they also grow, they grow and live. Plants also grow and live, right? Then he had the phylum. What was phylum? See, if you were to take, for example, you take any kingdom, let's say take the animal kingdom. Okay, now. So if you were to look within the animal kingdom, animals are divided into over 30 different groups.
Mm.
See, you have this kingdom. You have kingdom. In this, you have, let's say, you have taken animal kingdom. By the way, you have right now we are looking at animal and plant kingdom. Now, today we studied that there are 5 or 6 kingdoms, but at the Linnaeus time, another kingdoms were not discovered yet. Getting it now?
Mm.
Protista, fungi, bacteria, they were not discovered at that time. So that's why we are not studying about other kingdoms right now. Okay, now?
Mm.
Okay. I hope you're not getting confused.
Mm.
Was you getting the concepts or not?
Yes.
Good. If you get confused or having a doubt, please do let me know. So talking about the animal kingdom, further we see that animals are also having a huge diversity. Huh? You have humans, you have chimpanzees, you have dogs, you have lions, you have a spider, you have grasshopper, you have fishes, you have birds, you have crocodiles, you have a snakes. So many different ones are there right now. So
Yes.
further on, we classify animals and we see that there are 30 different types of different groups of animals also. So we call them as phylum, right? No? So again, you can have different types of plants also. So you have, let's say, some phylum will be there for plants also, right? So just in the animal system, you see that animals are divided into over 30 phyla. Okay, no? So for example, you can have some examples of phylum. For example, you have a chordata. We will be studying about that in some time. Don't worry. So just I'm giving some example. Like you have chordata or you have arthropods right now. So one we had the kingdom. In kingdom, you have different classifications. For example, we have the animal kingdom. Then we see that animals are also having a huge diversity, right? So they even in the animals we make different groups. Even in the animal kingdom, we have got different
Different.
groups. So those groups are called as phylum, right? We were studying about kingdom, and we see that plant kingdom is also there in the kingdom. So but we see that plants are also of different types right now. Some are flowering plants, some are non-flowering plants. Some plants grows very tall. Some plants grow to up to only few meters. So even in the plant kingdom, you make some smaller groups, right now. So we see that you'll be studying about phylum in plant also. Is it clear so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now further, phylums are further divided into some subgroups. Huh? For example, I gave you an example of chordata. Okay, now so see chordata, which is a phylum. It is a phylum. So chordata further can be divided into some more subgroups. For example, it can be further divided into mammals, and the group is called as mammalia. And you can have birds, you can have amphibians, and this one more. You can have reptiles and fishes also. Reptiles and fishes. Getting it, Moaz?
Yes.
So we divided kingdom into phylum. Further, now we are dividing phylum into some more subgroups, right? So for example, we had a phylum chordata. Further, chordata is divided into mammalia, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fishes, etc. Right?
Yes.
So that is called as class. So mammalia, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fishes, these are different classes. Right. Further, you can divide these classes also into some more smaller groups. Right now, so thereby you have got order. Order can be further divided into family. Right. Then you come to genus. Right now, so genus have only one or two animals in it. So for example, if an animal is in the same genus, both of them will be closely related to each other. So as we are going downwards here, we are becoming more and more specific. As we go down, we are becoming more and more specific. Like if I were to say a name of particular animal, for example, if I were to say a name of particular animal, let's say this lion, right now. So it belongs to which kingdom? To animal kingdom, right? Or for example, let's understand it like this. What is the name of your school?
James Winchester.
Repeat again.
James Winchester.
Okay, James will.
Winchester.
Okay, so that is your school. In your school, you are studying in a particular class right now. in class also you will be sitting on a particular table or chair. For example, let's say you might have a fixed chair that you will be sitting on that chair also, right? So you
Yes.
are becoming more and more specific. Like you live in a certain town, or for example you live in a country. Inside a country you will be living in a state. Inside a state you will be living in a town, and inside a town you will be living in a house. Inside the house you will be living in your room, right now. So if I were to ask you where are you right now, you might say I'm in a country. Where, be more specific, you might say the state in which you are living. Further you might go on to tell about your town, about your house, or about your room number as well. So we are becoming more and more specific about the living organism. Getting it, was?
Mm.
So this lion belongs to the animal kingdom. Which phylum? To chordata. Which class? Mammalia. Okay, now. Which order? Carnivore order. Right now.
Mm.
So you see that mammals, we were discussing about mammals in the previous class also. Like they
Mm.
have got hair on their body, right? They give birth to live young one babies. Further talking about order, they are carnivore. So they are the meat eating animals, right?
Mm.
So similarly in order you can have herbivores also, right? Now grass eating animals.
Mm.
Which family? They belong to the Felidae family. Felidae
Mm.
family, in this they are those animals belong to this Felidae family, which have got retractable claws. Like have you ever seen the claws of the cat?
No.
No. If you were to look at the claws of the cat, it can also retract its claws. uh,
Mm.
It can bring back its claw. Okay, now retractable claws basically means that if this lion wants to hunt, it can bring its sharp nail outside, and if it does not want to hunt or does not want to keep its nails outside, it can take it back. Getting it, Namaz, or not?
Mm. Getting it.
Right? Okay. Then further in the genus, you have some animals like which roars. For example, will a deer roar?
No.
No. Or for example, if you were to see cat, cat also have got retractable claws. But does cat roar like a lion?
No.
No. So we are becoming more and more specific. Although cats and lions are similar to each other in this manner that they have retractable claws. So they can belong to the same family Felidae. But in genus, they are different. Genus will be different for them. Like lion can roar, but cat cannot. So in genus, lion belongs to the Panthera group. Species is Leo.
Huh.
Hope you are getting it.
I,
Is this clear? Mhm.
since I was small, I thought lions was the only names for lions.
No, no. Okay, no. Also see here. Here there's more two names written for the lion. One is the normal lion that we know about. Then there's
Huh.
one more name, Panthera leo. Okay, Panthera leo.
Huh.
Now I want you to find out in which level of classification Panthera is written here. Is it in the kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, or species? Where is Panthera written?
It's genus.
In the genus. Where is Leo written?
Species.
Species. Very good. Okay. So I will come to this scientific naming of the of different living organisms in a minute. But before that, I want you to have a little background. Just like moments ago, I was telling you that we humans have got a scientific name called as Homo sapiens. Okay.
Huh.
So similarly, the scientific name of this lion is Panthera leo. So here, in order to give scientific names to living organisms, we find out which genus they belong to, what is their species, what is their genus, right now.
Yes.
So talking about humans, our genus is Homo, our species is Sapiens.
Huh.
Okay, now Homo sapiens, wise thinker. Homo sapiens are the wise thinker. It means wise thinker. Animals are not the wise thinkers, but we humans, although we are the humans, we are the animals, but we are the wise thinkers. Right now.
Huh.
Now, let's understand about the contribution of the Carl Linnaeus. What was his major contribution? Okay. Or we can say his contribution or his greatest legacy. So, although we have seen about this lion moments ago that it is classified using the linear system, we were classifying it using the linear system. Note this thing down that there are 7 levels of linear system. Try to read it with me. First is kingdom, then phylum,
Phylum,
class,
class,
order,
order,
family,
family,
genus,
genus,
species.
species.
Okay, you have to memorize this. Okay, now.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have. So we are seeing here that via this linear system, we understood how the lion was being classified. Chordata was the animal phylum that see this chordata here was the animal phylum here. In this, we have put this lion. In fact, it this phylum chordata no, it will include humans and other vertebrates also. Okay, as I was telling you about this phylum chordata, that chordata further is also divided into different groups, whether it be mammals, whether it be different other living different other living animals. Huh?
Okay.
Particularly most of them are those which have got a backbone. So and listen very carefully here. We put the lion in the phylum. Okay, specifically chordata, right? We humans are also part of chordata because further you know that the lion is a mammal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? We humans are also mammals now,
Yeah.
right? Now, so chordata was the animal phylum here that includes humans and other vertebrates also, including lions also. Also, most of the chordates are actually vertebrates. While this group chordata can include some small marine invertebrates animals also. Huh? It can include some marine invertebrate animals also, like a jellyfish. It's an invertebrate. It does not have a backbone, like a starfish or seahorse. So those are
Okay.
the things. Talking about the greatest legacy that he left behind was his creation of a scientific system for naming and classifying plants and animals. That is still to this day we are using this system. It is used universally. Whether you are there living in Saudi Arabia, whether I'm living in India, or whether you have a friend in Afghanistan, or whether you have a friend in like America or any like in Africa, in any part of the world, everywhere, like humans can have different names. People living in different continents will be having different names or can have some common names also. But all of them share one common scientific name. No matter whether a person is living in any country in this world, they will be having different names, but there's one common name by which all of them will be known. That is their scientific name, that is Homo sapiens. Okay, now? So, see, he developed a system for naming different organisms. He realized that the existing plant naming system of that time, we are not he was living where he was living in the 17th century, no, sorry, 18th
Yes.
century. He was living in the 18th century.
Huh.
When an year starts like this after 1700, so thereby you will count it as 18th century. Okay, now.
Huh.
Hmm. So he was living in the 18th century, in the early 18th century. So at that time, what he realized that the existing plant naming system had so many limitations in it, and it was based on the detailed physical characteristics of the plant. So it was very long, and it was not very comfortable. For example, look at this plant over. Look at this fruit here. Huh? Now, if you were to look here, before Linnaeus gave the naming system, the name of this fruit that you see here, that is basically this strawberry, if you see, it had such a long name: Arbutus, Caule, Erecto, Follis glabrous, Serratus, Bassus polyspermus. That's such a long name, right, Moz? And it will be very
Yes.
difficult to memorize it. So,
Yes.
this name was based upon the physical features of this plant. Huh? Like if you see arbutus, arbutus means that something which has got upright stems. Huh? Or talking about this Follis glabrous, something that is hairless, which has got no hair on it. Saw-toothed leaves. The shape of the leaves is saw-toothed, and it has got so many seeded berries in it. Seeded means that so many seeds are inside it.
Huh.
So while naming this fruit, so many physical characteristics of this fruit was of this plant was considered. Like how the stem of this plant looked like, was there any hair like growth in the plant, how the leaves looks like, huh? Do the berries consist of so many seeds in it? Getting it? But when Linnaeus described it now, he shortened it to only two words: Arbutus unedo. Huh? Getting it? So earlier it was very impractical to teach someone and even to write down such lengthy names. So he started the binomial system. Binomial system is basically two-part naming system. Getting it? Just like you had this name of this lion. His name was, scientific name is Panthera leo. Huh? Before Carl Linnaeus gave the scientific system, his name might have been very long. It might have consisted of 6 to 7 letters. Getting it? But now it is only 2 letters. So what he did now, he gave Latin names to different things. Huh? Started giving Latin names. He started using Latin words, which basically consisted of the genus and species of the living organisms, right? So first word was the genus to which that living organism belonged. Second name was the species to which it belonged. Getting it, was?
Mm.
So he found out what was the genus of this strawberry tree. So he found out its genus was Arbutus. Okay, no? Then he found out what was the species name of this strawberry tree. So he said that the one that you look in the image, its name was Unedo. The
Unedo.
species name was Unedo.
Unedo.
Getting it?
Yes.
Also, Linnaeus used Latin in his naming system. Okay, no? Actually, at that time, the language of science and learning in major part of the world was in Latin. Okay. For example, today most of the the language of science and different disciplines right now we mostly study it in English. But during that time period, most of the language of science and other field were in Latin. So that's why he was using Latin words. Okay, now?
Huh.
Okay. So that is the thing, and it is used till this day, right? And
Huh.
this name can be used all over the world, right? Okay, but of course today we use common names which are in English and easier for all of us to understand. Today you have got English name like strawberry tree, huh? You have got English name of different things, but scientists continue to use the Linnaeus binomial system. Scientists continue to use the system that was given by Linnaeus. So scientists would prefer to use this Latin word, Arbutus unido. Am I clear? Are you getting it?
Yes.
Okay. Any confusions?
No.
Okay. Now, if you were to look at this here, look at A and U. A here is a uppercase letter. It's a capital letter. Huh?
Yes.
U is a small letter. It's a lowercase letter. So
Yes.
Latin names, basically the scientific names of any living organism, always begin with a capital name, right?
Yes.
And the next word is written in small letters, in lowercase letters. Notice that it is written in Latin actually. I mean to say it is written in like this. You know how words are written in Latin now?
Huh.
They are slightly tilted,
Huh.
right now. Like you write was like this. If I were to write it in Latin, I would be writing it like this. See the difference?
Yes.
Okay, now. So that is the thing. I hope it is clear. If there's any doubt in it, please do let me know.
Huh.
No?
No.
Okay. Also, classification system started to develop since the time of Linnaeus. Even
Hmm.
today, we are using the 7 levels of classification to identify living things. But scientists are constantly refining the system based on the new knowledge that we are having today.
Hmm.
So even to this day, we are using this 7 level of classification, but scientists keep on refining it, keep on adding new knowledge to it. Okay, now? But for the
Hmm.
sake of convenience and ease in understanding, we are going to study about only 7 of them. Okay.
Hmm.
Also, you know that Linus only identify the plant and animal kingdoms. As I told you, he only identified the plant and animal kingdom, animal and plant kingdom.
Huh.
Okay, now. But today, living things are divided into majorly 5 groups. They are called as kingdoms. Getting it?
Hmm.
But some scientists today they argue that there are 6 or 7 kingdoms, but most of them agree on 5.
Huh.
Okay, now. Oh, we are still talking about the first level of its classification. Okay, now we are talking about kingdom right now only, not phylum, not class, order, family, genus, or species. Okay.
Huh.
Further, we are going to talk about the kingdom here right now. Also, one more thing you should know about his famous book also right now. It is called as Systema Naturae, right? So in his famous book Systema Naturae, Linnaeus named over 7,700 species using their binomial system. Huh? So he gave names of 7,700 species using the binomial system.
Huh.
Okay, now? And this standardization of names has been accepted all over the world. Getting it? It was published in the year 1749, I believe. Okay, now. So do tell me, what did you understood from the binomial system?
Um,
What is binomial system?
Animal system is a kind of plant system.
Not necessarily only a plant system. We were naming the animals like lion also using this system, no?
Yes.
Anthraleo. We have the name of this strawberry, Arbutus unido. So not just the plant system.
Hmm.
Okay. Who gave this binomial system?
Linnaeus.
Linnaeus. Good. Okay. So what was the basis of giving this system? How do we name things using this binomial system?
Uh, the 7
Yes.
Linnaeus system.
I mean that you need 2 things in order to give scientific name to different living things.
Hmm.
Like in order to name this Pantheroleo, that is lion basically, what were the 2 things we needed?
Genus and species.
Genus, species. Very good. So binomial system is a special naming system which was given by the Carl Linnaeus, in which he used the genus and species of the organisms to name it. Okay, so that is what the binomial system was, right? He would identify the genus and species of the living organisms, and then he would be naming them. And when he would be naming them, he would keep the first letter in capital. P is in capital, and the next letter would be in small. Next letter of the next word will be in small,
Small.
and both of them is written in Latin.
Huh.
Okay, no? Okay. So also I did told you that this kingdom, that was the first level of classification given by Carlos Linnaeus. Kingdom. So some scientists argue that there are 6 or 7, but most of them agree on 5. So the first big division of living things is to put them into one of the 5 kingdoms. So you tell me which kingdom we belong to out of these 5? Animal kingdom, obviously, very good. Okay, no? So these kingdoms, they are based on how living things are the same and how they are different. Hmm? How they are same and how they are different. Because they are some living organisms. For example, you know that Aristotle and Linnaeus, they were not aware of the unicellular organisms like the micro the bacteria or the viruses. They were not aware of them because at that time microscopes were not developed. Technology was not developed that much at that time. So as they could not see them with the naked eye without the help of microscope, so they did not have equipments such as the powerful microscopes that we have today, with the help of which you can magnify very tiny things. Getting it now? So they did not talk about different organisms like fungus. They did not talk about protista. Okay, no? They did not talk about monera. So they only gave the plant and animal kingdom. But later on, people developed another methods also, right? Okay. So what you would be doing after the class, if you get time, do some research about Carolus Linnaeus. Okay, now find out about his childhood, what were his interests, what were his achievements, and what were the contributions he made to the classification of living things. Okay, now. So binomial system we have studied. Have you understood it completely?
Yes.
Okay. Also, can you think of like you have got so many different plants and objects around us. Like I would be giving you names of some other animals which have the which are named according to the binomial system. For example, talking about housefly. You know what is the scientific name of housefly?
No.
It is Musca. Let me write it over here. It is
Musca.
Musca domestica.
Musca domestica.
Musca domestica. Okay. For example, we have cats. The scientific name of cats are Felis domestica. Okay, no? It is Felis domesticus actually. Felis domesticus. Okay. Have you seen touch me not plant?
No.
Do you know about touch me not plant?
No.
No. If you were to touch the leaves of that plant, now it will start to fold itself. Do ask your parents about touch me not plant. They will tell you in more detail about it. It's a plant usually we have in garden. If you were to touch the leaves of that plant, it will start to fold itself. Okay, no?
Okay.
So these are some of the common examples. Or for like dog, it is called as Canis familiaris. Anyways, so if you want, you can memorize these names. Okay, no? Let's continue what we were discussing. So not talking about like microorganisms. What we know about microorganisms? They are such organisms that can be seen only with the help of a microscope, right?
Yes.
It is to be found everywhere. If you were to look at your palm in a microscope, you would find so many microorganisms are even on your palm, on your different objects that are placed around you. So microorganisms are found everywhere, right?
Hmm.
So if you were to have a tiny dot over here, in this several hundreds of microorganisms can be found over here. So there's a huge possibility on my screen. If I were to look at this tiny spot under a microscope, I might find several microorganisms living here. Getting it, boss?
Okay.
So obviously, do tell me, the number of microorganisms are more, or is it the humans?
Microbes.
Microbes are already, right? Now?
Yeah.
Further, we categorize microorganisms also into different groups,
Hmm.
right? Based on the common characteristics they share, we categorize them into different groups. So you might have seen like mushrooms or bread mold. Huh?
Yes.
If you were to leave bread in open, or if the bread expires, so it starts just to catch mold.
Even fruits.
Even fruits also. There are some edible mushrooms also. Well, some of the mushrooms are poisonous. You might have seen it. These are like this. Okay. You have yeast. Yeast powder is used in baking industry. If you want to bake a cake, you would be using some yeast powder.
Hmm.
Okay, no? So ask your parents about yeast powder. They might say, tell you about the use of yeast powder. They would be using it in kitchen in order to bake cookies or to bake cake. So they would be mixing it in flour. They would mix it in flour.
Hmm.
I did told you about bread mold as well. So all of them are, if you were to look at them close enough, right now, so they are actually microorganisms.
Hmm.
But you would say that we are able to see them now. Huh? They are properly visible to our eyes, right now. But
Yes.
they are available to our eyes. They are visible to our eyes because they are found to be living in such a huge number at a given place. For example, mold. It starts from a tiny dot in this bread and starts to spread right now. That's how you are able to see it. But if you were to look at one single mold, you will be able to look it under a microscope only. I mean to say that there's a whole colony of so many different molds. That's why you are able to see it. But if you want to study about them properly, you have to look at them under a microscope. Only then you'll be able to study about them.
Hmm.
So normally they can be seen only with the microscope. That's what we are seeing here also. Even the yeast and the mushrooms also. If you want to study them properly, they're about their body structure, you see them under a microscope. So they are categorized under fungus,
Okay.
fungi basically, or fungus also. We sometimes call it as fungus also,
Hmm.
right? Also, you will know that these microorganisms, they all of them are, they can't make their own food. They cannot prepare their own food. Just like you know that plants can prepare their own food, no?
Hmm.
They can't prepare their own food. They will be mainly growing on the dead and decaying substances.
Hmm.
Fungus will be mainly depending upon the dead and decaying substance and obtain their nutrition from them. So
Hmm.
all of them share some common habits. That's why we call them as fungi. Put them under this group fungi.
Hmm.
Then you have another groups of microorganisms called as Monera, Protista. Under Protista, you have two more subgroups, Protozoa and algae. So based on the characteristics that different ones share, they are classified into appropriate groups, which we are going to study later. Okay, no?
Hmm.
So first of all, we are going to study about the Monera kingdom. About the Monera.
Hmm.
So what we are studying right now, we are studying about the 5 kingdoms, and in this first kingdom we are going to study about is the kingdom Monera. Okay.
Okay.
Now look at the image given here. What do you observe from the given image in this? See, you
They're
have this bacteria right now. This is the bacteria that causes E. coli disease. Okay, now look at the second image also. Right. So what we can see over here, that these are single living cells. These are single living organisms, single cell living organisms. They have got only one cells in them. Getting it? What other characteristics we find about them? That these living organisms can cause illness in us. If they were to enter our body, most probably they can cause illness.
and
Okay, now?
disease.
And disease basically. Okay, now. So most of these living organisms are made up of only one cell, and most of them do not have a proper nucleus in them. Okay, they are made up of single cell organisms. They can, some of them can be helpful studying about that also. They lack a nucleus. Now let me tell you about what is nucleus. Normally when we look at the structure of the cells of human bodies or some other microorganisms, we find out that in their body, just like in our body, we have got brain. To do the thinking, we have brain. Similarly, what about these living organisms that are made up of just only one cell? So they must be having a brain. Huh? Do you know about cell? First of all, tell me this. CELL, what is it?
It's some kind of organism,
Mhm.
like we have cells in our blood.
In
Blood
our
cells.
blood cells, correct? You have red blood cells, white blood cells, etc. See, if I were to say, ask you that, say that this is a building, for example. Consider that this is a building for a moment, although it not does not look like it. Anyways, so you will find out that buildings are made up of bricks now.
Hmm.
Buildings are made up of bricks. Let's just consider that this building is only made up of bricks. Don't consider the cement, don't consider the rocks and steel, etc. So this is made up of only bricks. So you will say that the tiniest object of which this building is made up of is the bricks.
Hmm.
Bricks are the tiniest object using which this building has been made. In the same manner, any living organisms, the tiniest structure of which it is made up of, that is called as cells.
Hmm.
So just like this brick is the structural unit of this building, it gives structure to this building. It's the
Hmm.
most fundamental and structural unit of this building. Without this building is not possible. So these bricks have been arranged to make this building. In the same manner, if you were to look at our body also, we have got different cells. We have got cells of bone. So bone cells are there. You have muscle cells right now. You have hair cells. So you have hair cells, hair
Hmm.
cells. So different cells are there. So cells further combine together to make tissues. Tissues further combine together to make organs, and different organs work together to make our living organisms.
Hmm.
Getting it? So that's what a cell is. It's the most fundamental structure of a living organism. Just like a brick was the fundamental structure, just like it was the tiniest structure.
Hmm.
So in nature, you have some of the living organisms that can have just one cell. You would be surprised to know that in our body there is 30 to 40 trillion cells. How many cells are there? 30 to 40 trillion.
trillion.
In 1 trillion, there is 12 zeros. How many? 12 zeros are there in 1 trillion. So basically what we are seeing here, that there's a huge number of cells found in our body. In order to look at just one cell, you need a high powered microscope. So imagine that there are some microorganisms that can have just be having, their body will be just made up of one cell, right? Like this bacteria that you see here. And just like our body have got a brain, even a cell has got a brain of its own, because you have to do we humans, we have to do the thinking process. You want to take some physical action, your body, first of all, your brain directs your body to do some physical action. For example, digestion is taking place, digestion of food is happening in our body, so brain is controlling all the processes. Blood is flowing from the heart to different parts of the body, so brain is also maintaining it and regulating it. Getting it, pause. Like, that's a subconscious thing that is already happening in your body. You might think that, how am I able to control the blood flow in my body, how am I able to control the digestion? But you don't realize it, but it is with the help of the brain, that brain is controlling all these functions in a proper manner. So we require a brain now. Getting it? Hope you're not getting confused. Yes, Maz?
Yes.
Okay. Talking about this cell, it will also have a brain of its own, but it does not look like a proper nucleus. We humans have got brain. A cell will be having a brain of its own, right? But in bacteria, they do not have a proper nucleus, so they lack a nucleus. Nucleus is replaced by some other things which are not very proper. So we say that the kingdom Monera, especially the bacteria, they lack nucleus in them. They do not have got a proper brain. Right? They are single cell living organisms. They can cause illness, while some of them are helpful also. For example, bacteria are used to make cheese and yogurt also. Right? For example, there's a bacteria called as lactobacillus. Okay, no? Okay, have you eaten curd? You must have eaten curd. Yes?
No.
You haven't eaten curd. Okay, see. Lactobacillus, you might ask your mother regarding this, like, what is a curd? Okay, no? So this lactobacillus bacteria helps to convert milk into curd. It helps to convert milk into curd. Getting it now? Okay. So here we are taking help of a bacteria. Okay, no? So that is the thing about it. Okay. If there's any question so far, please to let me know. Yes?
No.
Okay. So what we studied in today's class? Do tell me.
We learned about the 7 lineage system.
First of all, we studied about the Aristotle.
Yes.
Start from here.
We first talked about the Aristotle, about the ladder of life.
Very good.
And second, we learned about Carlos Linnaeus.
What he did?
He developed the this one.
7 levels of classification.
7 levels of classification.
This you can learn by memorizing this phrase. Keep ponds clean, or frogs get sick. K for keep. Okay, now keep ponds clean, or frogs
get sick.
Okay, now? Okay, so just look at the first letter. Keep. ponds clean or frogs get sick. Okay, he did one more work. What was that?
I think
Give the binomial system, isn't it? He gave the binomial system, no?
binomial system.
Binomial system. Okay, what do you require to give in this binomial system? What do we use?
Uh,
We use the Latin words, correct? But we find out to what genus that living organism belong to and what is species, right now.
Yeah.
So we write the genus and species side by side, and you have to write the first letter of this first word in uppercase, in capital.
Yes.
Okay. How many species he named in this book? Almost
7,700 species.
very good. What is the scientific name of housefly?
Musca domestica.
Musca domestica. What is cats?
Felis domestica.
Felis domesticus. Very good. And right now we have started talking about the
Monera.
kingdom. Monera kingdom. Very good. So we will continue from here in the next class. Okay, no? Okay, that's it for today. Allah Hafiz.